Hey, BinSpy University, Brendan here, and today we're going to go over this case study on capacity. I made this case study because I find that a lot of business owners in this industry, after a year or two, they're focused on customer acquisitions, but the logistics and the capacity is something that we don't focus enough on. So the purpose of this case study was just to get an idea of looking at our internal capacity and seeing how we can make changes to our scheduling and route optimization to enhance the business. What we want is we want the most profit. That's the point of a business. We need to do is we need to take our capacity, we need to get our capacity filled, and then we need to increase profitability on a full capacity. Right? In these lessons before, we talked about all the ways we can do that, some suggestions. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at Zoe's capacity here in this make-believe business that I made, and we're going to make some suggestions. There's no right or wrong answers. There probably are some wrong answers. This is supposed to be generic. You don't have all the information, and this is just a little snapshot using capacity to see what we're going to do here. In reality, we're probably going to want to look at everything from marketing to employee management, HR, everything we learn in BinSpy University. Today, we're going to go just a very small sliver of it. And you read on everything in the case study introduction. Today, we're going to go kind of through some of the answers or what might be considered a good suggestion for her. It might not be the right answer, but it might be a good suggestion. Now, you might have a completely different idea than me. That's great. Let's talk about it. Let's discuss it. This is what I would do if I was coaching Zoe on capacity. First off, before we go into it, we want to break this down by the day, right? Our constraints is we want to come the day after trash pickup. So if your trash is picked on a Monday, you need to be on a Tuesday. We can't make you a Friday route just because you were close to your neighborhood. So we're constrained to the day. And then in this example, we're on a 4-week rotating schedule because recycling comes every other week. That's what happens in my territory, so I made it like that. It could be different in yours, and you might have a completely different type of schedule. But for us, for example, if you're on Tuesday week 1, well, you could only be on either Tuesday week 1 or Tuesday week 3. That way you're on your right day and you're aligned with your recycling schedule. So that's kept in mind. Let's go day by day and start making some suggestions to Zoe on what she should do to improve her business through capacity. Okay, so first off, we got Tuesday. And as you can see, Tuesday's awesome. Tuesday's exactly what we want. We're getting right in that 90 to 95% of capacity every single day. This is awesome. Zoe's crushing it. There's very few recommendations in terms of improvement, right? Let's go to the standard. Let's optimize the route, make sure we're keeping neighbors together. We're keeping the truck the lowest miles possible. But this is awesome. The only suggestion I'd have here is, hey, we're at 90%. We probably can't afford to get too many more customers, at least on a monthly plan, before we start getting over capacity. So what we want to do, let's go to that quarterly. Let's start promoting it, whether it's on the website, whether it's a promotion, a discount, an offer, just reminding monthly customers, say, hey, our quarterly rates are awesome, great value if you want to switch. There's a few ways we can implement it, but the bottom line is we want to stick between 90 and 100% capacity. So at this point, all we got to tell Zoe is, hey, let's increase our margins. Right? We're not going to increase price across the board. We're not going to do anything crazy just yet. So instead, let's just say, hey, let's get some more quarterly customers, maybe even biannual. At worst, bi-monthly, so they're every other month instead of every month. That way we can get more margins per job and stay right at that 90 to 95% capacity. Awesome. So next is Wednesday, and Zoe's crushing it on Wednesday. I mean, this is a problem, but talk about a good problem to have. So right now, she's at 115, 110, 120% capacity every single Wednesday. Awesome. This is clearly her best neighborhood. But what does she do? She's getting an employee who's probably overworked. Yes, you could do some overtime. It sounds like in this made-up scenario, she's paying her guy overtime. That's probably not sustainable. An employee would rather, work just regular hours, depending on who you have. But let's say for this example, they don't like it. The overtime's not making it worthwhile. We need to figure out how to get capacity back to realistically to 100% or lower. First thing, route optimize. Of course, that's kind of the overall answer to every single one of these days is continue to look who's far away. Are there some individuals that might just be really far out of the way? Unfortunately, maybe we have to cut them. Is there a neighborhood on the edge of town with just a couple people, but it's taking so much capacity? Because once again, capacity isn't just per person. Capacity is the time per person. So if a bunch of people are in one neighborhood versus the same amount of people are spread out, much different capacities. What we might say is, hey, there's only 3 people in this neighborhood, and it's really far out of the way. It's taking a lot of time to drive to. Maybe we cut the whole neighborhood. Alternatively, if we realize, hey, even if we did that, we'd still be over. Well, the other answer is we got to increase capacity another way. From our other lesson, we discussed you could increase prices, right? And that could be possible. You could say, hey, our Wednesday prices are different. We're increasing Wednesday prices. The problem is it doesn't standardize. It doesn't look great. It's harder for you to manage and understand. It's hard for your customers to manage and understand. They might feel like they're being cheated because, oh, why am I on this amount of money, but my neighbor with this trash pickup day is different. It's better to just standardly increase prices across the board. We want to do that when we're closer to that 90% capacity at least. Overall, like we said, we're only at 68 capacity on average. So let's not increase prices. We're not going to buy another truck or trailer just for an extra 15, 16% capacity overload. Instead, her best bet is to either get a part-time employee to help out, either by staying on the truck, which we found increases our capacity by about 35%, makes a rhythm that the two guys can get into with teamwork and really crush a good amount of more bins. They can make it, like I said, a teamwork. They can do an evening route. You can have one person do half and then the other person does the other half in the afternoon. Or if Zoe's not doing anything on Wednesdays, maybe she takes it. Maybe she hops in the truck, like I said, as a partner, or maybe she comes in the afternoon and takes care of one or two neighborhoods to keep her employee under 100%. Few options, but generally here we're going to recommend that we add some extra labor to really get this done if route optimization is not enough. But awesome problem for Zoe to have. She's crushing it. I want everyone to have this exact same problem. Okay, now Thursday's the opposite. Clearly, the neighborhoods that Zoe's in on Thursday are not doing as well as Wednesday. We're not going to go into demographics and talk about why. We're going to talk about what we can do. So here we see we have 30%, 35%, 25%. We're not doing great. The obvious answer here is let's go back to marketing. We need to sell more in this neighborhood, right? Let's take all that money that we could spend on Wednesdays. We're already full. Whatever areas we're targeting through Facebook ads, through geographics, put it all towards these neighborhoods, right? This is the neighborhoods we need to start marketing towards increasing capacity. On top of that, these are the areas where we want to promote monthly and not quarterly, because here we want to fill capacity. And as nice as quarterly is for those margins that we talk about, ideally long-term sustainability, right now we just need to get revenue on these days and make it worthwhile. So let's promote monthly. Let's try to get it at least towards 70, 80% before we maybe start pushing quarterly more. And like I said, there's ways to implement it. There's ways on our website, through design, through pricing, through offerings, through promotions. You can say, hey, anyone who signs up for monthly gets their first month free. That's going to bring people to monthly. Likewise, do that for quarterly. Say, hey, anyone who signs up for quarterly service, gets half off their first cleaning. That's a great way to promote the quarterly. Here we want to promote monthly. Now, we can always get creative. Let's look as well. Here we have on week 1 and 3, we're looking at combined under 55% capacity. That's awesome. What we could do here is we can combine weeks 1 and 3, or we can combine weeks 2 and 4, or we can combine both and say, hey, we can make this one day of 60% or 2 days at 60% each. And now you have 1 or 2 free days of the month completely off, completely free. You can do business stuff. You can do power washing or another service. You can get ahead. You can do training. This could be, your admin day. This can be anything. This could be viral marketing. You can just do door knocking, hanging, door hangers. It doesn't matter. But it might behoove us here to say, hey, why not, instead of just having a third of a day 4 times, let's combine them, get 2 days on the schedule, and now we have 2 days to do something else, right? In the future, you could always add those days back. But for right now, maybe there's something better to do. So I would tell Zoe, I'd say, hey, what else could you do if you were not on the road? If your truck was not on the road, what would be the next best opportunity? And if there's anything that creates value and the routes realistically can be put together, I'd say, hey, let's conglomerate, let's consolidate these routes, and let's get some free days. Let's get some other stuff on the schedule. So that would be my recommendation here for Thursday. Okay, so now Friday's weird. Friday we start getting into, we have 95 and 85% capacity on half the weeks. The other half we're at 10 and 20%. So what's going on here? The first thing I'd say, let's go back to our bread and butter, route optimization. I tell Zoe, okay, what's going on? Let's see the map. Let's see where the customers are at. Why are we so full on half the weeks and so empty on the other half? What we see here is we want to stick with recycling schedules. So let's go week 1 and 3. We're at 95% and 10%. Well, those customers can be interchanged. They're on the day after trash pickup, and those are the recycling weeks. So what we might want to do here is say, hey, this 95% is great. We can't really put them together. We can't take a free day because we'd be over capacity. So instead, maybe here we say, let's actually do the opposite. Let's even it out. Let's get these to about 55%, the average. So now you have 2 days that are about the same, and you do this for both the week 1 and 3, and you do this for the week 2 and 4. Now you have 4 days that are all very similar. They're all about the same, and we just grow. We grow from there. We're at about 53%, and now we just say, hey, we evened it out. Every day is kind of similar now, and now let's go back to what we said. Let's go to monthlies. We'll promote monthlies here. We'll market heavily in these areas because we're still only at about 55, 53% capacity. So right here I tell Zoe, let's even it out. Let's spread it out, share the love, and go back to our basics of promoting monthly services, marketing heavy in these areas, and trying to get that capacity back to like that 90% mark. All right, now Saturday looks very similar at first glance to Friday. You might say, okay, we got half the weeks looking like they're really at capacity, the other weeks looking like they're really not doing anything. The problem is, once you look into this, is the recycling weeks are both the ones that are at capacity that align with each other, and the other recycling week, you're at 10% each. You're at nothing. So what we can't do is we can't even it out, because then you have half your customers off their recycling schedule. So we got to say, okay, week 1, 90%, awesome, great. And week 3, 85%, great. Let's not touch those. We can't, optimize as always, but those are perfect right now. In fact, in those neighborhoods, whatever area that is, let's promote quarterly cleanings, and get away from monthlies, and just try to keep that right between 90 and 100% capacity, increase the margins. Now for weeks 2 and 4, now we're at almost no capacity. So the first thing we say is let's do monthly. Let's get monthly as a promotion. Let's do some heavy marketing in these areas. That's awesome. But right now they're so low. I'm going to go back to what I said for the Thursday. Let's just combine them. Let's combine those days. You have one day at 20% capacity, and now still at 20%. Promote monthlies, market heavy in that neighborhood or those neighborhoods, and now you have a free day. And that's great. This is a Saturday. Maybe this is just part of your employees' bonuses. Hey, every fourth Saturday is just off. Enjoy the weekend. Maybe this is a training day. Maybe there's something else you could do. Maybe it's a power washing day. Maybe it could be anything that you want. But when you have 2 such low days after 2 years of business, it's probably a good sign to say, hey, let's just take one of those days and do something else, because we can consolidate those other 2 days into one, still be severely under capacity, and open up a free day. If for nothing else, like I said, if you have truly nothing better to do, I still think for yourself, for your mental health, for your employee, for their happiness, have a day off here. That's what I tell Zoe. I'd say, hey, we're going to put week 4, we're going to push everything there to week 2. So now you're going to have week 2's at about 20% capacity, and every fourth week, you guys are going to get a free Saturday. I think that's the way to do it. That would be my recommendation to Zoe for Saturday. So these are not the only answers. These are some basic principles and advice we give to a pretty basic case study. A consultant's favorite 2 words are "it depends." And the truth is, for Zoe and for your business and for my business, it depends. This is just limited information. We're just going to give some general advice. But the truth is, there's plenty of other things to do and to consider. You can expand past your service area on certain days. You can eliminate routes altogether. I mean, maybe you say, hey, Zoe should buy that second truck or trailer because her Wednesday and Tuesday routes are so good. Do the opposite. Spend all your advertising money in those, since they're clearly the best return on investment, and those 2 days alone can make a second trailer profitable. There's no right answer. It really is going to depend on not only what's best for you, your market, your business, but it's going to depend on how you implement it and the actual execution of whatever plan you take. Right. In fact, even this whole lesson, capacity is undefined. Right. For me, I just assume capacity is an 8 hours days of work. There's plenty of other constraints that will affect capacity. You might be in an area where no one's trash is picked up on Thursday, so you can't even work Fridays. Maybe you have to do same day. Maybe the constraint is something completely unrelated. Maybe your constraint's water. You have like an SB3 model and you only have 200 gallons of water, say, on it. And you realize I can only do 25 bins in a day because I don't have the capacity to get water. And by the time it takes me to refill, I'm at my time capacity for my employee, right? Maybe personal. Maybe you're doing this on the side and you say, hey, I just want to do this 4 hours a night. Well, then your capacity is, 4 hours. Maybe, like I said, maybe your employee has an 8-hour day, so your constraint is simply by time. Could be by water. You could have a faulty battery that works 7 hours, so you're based on that alone, your capacity is just 7 hours a day. It can be a ton of things, So you need to understand your own capacity, your own constraints, and then use that and make a chart like this for yourself. Figure out, okay, what is my capacity right now? How far along am I per day? And if you actually make a little map like the one we made, a little calendar, and say, okay, Tuesdays I'm at this percent, for these days, Wednesdays, Thursdays, etc. You're going to see the areas. It's going to show you where maybe you need more marketing, where you can start promoting monthly versus quarterly, where you need to double down, where you need to cut some fat, trim some fat, where you might want to add some help, whether it be yourself or a part-time worker. There's so many things to consider here. I don't want you to take anything away that says, oh, this is the definitive answer. This is just, if I were to look at your business and say, hey, you're at a very low percentage on these days of capacity and high here, how can we bring them together? How can we increase them? How can we optimize the route? How can we balance it potentially? There's just so many things. So this is just a very quick version. Hopefully it can keep your mind jogging. If you look under this video, I'm going to put this all in words. You can read it, and we'll have a discussion forum as well so we can all discuss. If you think anything I said is wrong or you disagree, happy to hear. I would love to see what you would do instead. And let's talk, man. I'm super happy. Thanks. I hope you guys learned something, and we'll do some more case studies like this going forward.